Now that we have the cabinet conversion done, we need to talk about the electrical conversion. That is getting the Centaur II wiring harness and boards set up in the game, because the layout was different with the smaller back box and this pedestal that it sat on. So the harness is laid out completely different. And I need to explain how I went about that conversion. It was not too terrible to do. Obviously, you can see we got it done, but it wasn't exactly mindless either. So you're probably going to ask me how complicated this was. It really wasn't that bad, but let me show you. The worst part was clearly the displays, because they are set wide. In Centaur II, they are all congested together. So the wiring loom was a bit problematic, but we'll come to that last. Let's talk about just the board placement. So everything went pretty much where you thought it would. MPU, solenoid driver, and the sound. The lamp driver board was the exception. That spun 180 degrees. So that means that these connectors would normally be over there, and those would obviously be over here. Had to do that because of the way the wiring harness fits in here. Otherwise, the line here that goes to the Say It Again board, the reverb board, is too short. So if you flip that board, and when I mean flip it, those brackets, the mounting brackets, have to be turned around. They have to be removed and spun over. Then you can get everything to fit. Now, it is a little messy, and you have to cut a lot of nylon ties. So the original nylon ties are white. All the black ones are where I cut the white ones to reposition wires and then bring them all together so that it looks a little neater. It's not perfect. I mean, we still have like this big piece here that isn't quite right, but it's pretty good. Had to rewire for the general illumination here. I used a separate connector for that. That's a new connector. Also right here for the shoot again lamp, the game over lamp, the tilt, and the warning lamp. I had to make my own little harness here. Not a big deal. That was pretty easy. But now let's talk about the score displays. That was kind of a hot mess. The displays, I should mention that these connectors, you can see I've still got the player 3 here. Because I had to add one new connector to the harness. And I use these IDC connectors, insulation displacement connectors. And the reason why I use those is because it's just easier to splice into the middle of the harness. Things weren't going to fit. So like this was originally the ball and play connector, which would be up here, but it wouldn't stretch over here. So I put it here, and then you change one pin to make it, actually 2 pins, to make that the new player 3 display. We get off in the weeds a little bit with the schematics. This is the 7-digit display schematic, and there's 2 pins that you got to monkey with. Pin 12 on this connector is the 7th digit. So that means for all the displays except for the ball display, there's 7-digit displays, 7 positions. The ball and credit display is only 6. So there is one line that is not used here. And when I took the ball and play connector there, I had to add the 7th digit connector. And, you know, to just splice it into the harness. Wasn't a big deal, but I had to do it. And then pin 15 is the display latch. So all the pins are identical. They just run from display to display, even on the 6th digit, except for this pin 15. Pin 15 is the thing that actually tells it that is player 2 display or player 1. So there's a separate and discrete wire for each of the 5 displays that goes to this display latch at pin 15, which is shown on the schematic right here, display latch strobe. Okay, so with some gentle movement, I abandoned the player 3 connector, move the ball in play down to the player 3, change the, added the 7th digit and the display strobe line. And then over here, I just took a brand new IDC connector and just spliced it into the middle of the harness. Now, on the 6th, this is the ball in play and credit unit. You can't have the 7th digit. You have to remove that. That's this line right here, the black with the green. That is not connected here. Because if you do leave it connected, you get ghosting on the displays. But overall, electronically, it wasn't that hard to do this. Again, I spent, I don't know, an evening or two mostly getting the wiring to fit. And swapping that lamp driver board really made the huge difference. And other than that, everything kind of lines up nicely into our conversion from Centaur 2 into Centaur 1. Now, of course, the famous thing about Centaur is if you put these in order, it'll send another ball out. One up there, do it a couple times. 2-ball, 3-ball multi-ball right now. 4-ball multi-ball. Can we do one more? 5-ball multi-ball. 5 balls. Got 5 balls up. That's why everybody likes that. I mean, there's a lot of other features too, but that's the big one. So, anyway, so we got ourselves a working Centaur 1.